Hello, welcome to my first demonstration on how we're going to be pen testing a website, specifically dealing with an MMORPG game called Star Wars: The Old Republic. And the reason why we're going to be targeting this website is simply because it's a AAA title and it has, a game that it distributes files to everyone. And I'm going to show you how I would personally go about trying to retrieve files you're not supposed to have. So the first step is you're going to want to kind of do your first reconnaissance. So what that means is that we're going to go to our web browser and we're going to type in Star Wars: The Old Republic. And then we're going to try to find the official website. So here is what we found: Star Wars: The Old Republic. We're going to go ahead and open that up. And we're going to see Star Wars: The Old Republic, so SWTOR.com. This is their main official website. A lot of game developers, it depends on what region of the world that their main company is located at. You're gonna have to do some research online to find that. Now, a lot of times there's like Korean game developers that will release their game globally. So if you're not aware that it's a Korean developer, you're gonna want to find that information out. So here we can kind of use Google to get some basic information. Star Wars: The Old Republic is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game based in the Star Wars universe. Developed by BioWare Austin and a supplemental team at BioWare Edmonton. The game was announced on October 21, 2008. So the game's been around for a while. Usually older games have been battle tested. There's a lot of vulnerabilities and stuff that's been fixed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my approach on how I would target a game, do some basic pen tests on the website, and kind of look at their files and see what clues I can gather that will lead me to access files I shouldn't have access to. And why do we want to access files that we shouldn't have access to? Let's just say there's a normal version of the game, right? And then there's probably a QA version of the game or a developer version of the game. And depending on which version of the game you access, it could have some interesting things that they might have left inside files they should have not left in those files that could give you clues on how you might be able to access more information. And ultimately, this could lead to potentially taking over the website or gaining administrative access because they left an API key or they left some kind of crucial information inside a file they shouldn't have done. So we're going to see how we're going to be able to go about that, what we can actually achieve from the outside in. So first step is we found our target, which is SWTOR.com. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to try to get information about the website. So let's, for instance, what I like to use is subdomain.c99.nl. And this website allows you to put in any domain. We're going to do a private scan so no one else can see what we're scanning for. And we're going to do the scan. And what this does is it's going to find all the public subdomains associated with this website. Now, it's not always accurate. It's not always going to give you a full list, but it is going to give you a decent list that you can kind of play around with. Some of the most obvious subdomains that they have exposed. So we did see from Google that we found swtor.com, but then there's account.swtor.com, there's forums, and then www. Now, there's not that many subdomains that we can kind of play around with here, but if you look at all their different scans, you can go back to the earliest scan, and then all of a sudden you get all these crazy subdomains. Some of them may still be active. All these IPs are probably different. They might be switched out. But you can kind of get an idea on what kind of subdomains they used to be using or they're still using. So this is how you'd go about it manually. You just go through a whole bunch of web archives that basically collected information about a website, and it really makes it easy for you to kind of navigate the website and find information on it. So we can always go to a different one and we'll probably get a different list. See, so we have a different list right here. Some similar subdomains of the previous scans or older scans or newest scans, but ultimately you just keep going through all the scans that they did and you can kind of see how the subdomains change over time. So this is one way to go about getting information on the subdomains used on a website. Now, why do we want to get all the subdomains that they used? Well, one, it tells you kind of how the website operates, just looking at the names. Like for instance, forum, that tells me that they have a forum that you can use. Account, so they have an account subdomain, which deals all account related stuff. Gamepad, it could be related to potentially a launcher or file distribution, not sure. Launch.swtor.com, so that definitely sounds like more of a launcher related thing. They have Launchpad. So I'm not entirely sure what these are, but it kind of gives me an idea that, hey, they have other subdomains that could be dealing with other interesting stuff. And they could have vulnerabilities in every single one of these subdomains. So this is something, this really expands our scope on what we can target and what vulnerabilities may exist. Because if you gain access to any of these subdomains, chances are that it could be linked to all of them. So if you infiltrate one, you might have infiltrated everything. It depends on how they're all linked together and what information they expose. So what I did was I wrote a tool in Python that basically collects all the public information that's publicly available online. Now, it doesn't go to all the websites, but it goes to the ones that I use the most often. So it goes to web.archive.org, which is the Wayback Machine. It uses the c99.nl website, their API system to collect information, which is what I just showed you, which was this one. So basically, I use this website's API to go ahead and collect all the information it has, going all the way back to the beginning of its earliest scan. And I collected all that information, and then I collected everything from crt.sh, which is another website used to collect information on a website. And then I went ahead and I checked the activity or connectivity of the website to find out which subdomains are actually online and which ones are not online. So that can kind of help me quickly narrow down, what I can target and what I can't target. So it found 10 URLs that are online, which are subdomains. And then I got the response codes for them. So let's go ahead and let's take a quick look at what we got. So this is what my tool does. I actually spent some time developing this tool. I will make it publicly available so that everyone can kind of use it, and it's just really easy to play around with. One thing about this tool is I am paying for an API key for the c99.nl website, which is only like $5 a month. So if you want to buy your own API key, I actually included an area where you can you just open this text document and you write your own key in there, save it, and then this tool will use that key to be able to access the API, the REST API for c99.nl. But you don't necessarily need that because I actually do use some free websites such as crt.sh and the web.archive.org, which will collect all the public information for free. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at what we were able to find out. This is the map. So the map basically gives us a pretty good idea on what's going on here. So it gets basically a map of all the potential path areas of every subdomain that's active that was recorded or at least retrieved from online. So we got account.swtor.com, and this is what I got for the account subdomain. So we have an API, create tracer, log, all this stuff. And that tells us, it gives me a pretty good idea, right, on how this website functions, how it works. Then Then we got the cdn.-www.swtor.com. So we have cite all files, I guess English. Yeah, so it gives us kind of an idea on how that works. We got the forums. There's probably going to be a lot within the forums. Oh yeah, there's a lot. We got the sign-in. So this is a great tool that I developed. It really gives you an idea on how the site is kind of mapped out, how it's structured, and this is what the developers wrote. So every one of these paths is what the developers are using to access files. So it gives you an idea on what may be on the website. Now all of these paths could be no longer there, but at one point in time they were, right? So this tells me a lot about how they potentially access their website. Now, what's crazy about this is that there may be stuff in here that is randomly generated keys, right? So the path itself has a key written into the path so that it can access files, assuming that you're a privileged user. For instance, this right here looks like a generated key. So it's possible that just by accessing this link right here, it could then expose a lot of things that normal users otherwise would never see, right? This at some point in time was recorded somewhere and it was saved into this archive. And this could expose information. This could be a developer key that is still being used to this day. We don't know, right? You just have to manually look at it and go through it all and see how the website works. So yeah, a lot of really good information on how the website works. This is a great tool. I love this tool. I could always improve it, but as it is right now, it's working great. So we have a web archive filtered files, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. And essentially, what this does is it records potential links that may be a file, and it gives you a whole bunch of information here. So if I want to go ahead and try to find something like .json and find all, there's nothing in there. .exe, and look, we found something. So there's a community, CDN, SteelSeries Engine, SteelSeriesEngine.exe. There's patch notes, and then they have Star Wars: The Old Republic setup.exe. So this is where they may contain a lot of juicy files that we want to get access to. So now we're going to actually take a look at the subdomains. And the subdomains is what's really interesting. So this is what's, out of all the information I collected, it created this list right here. This list right here gives you a great starting point to kind of start penetrate or pen test the SWTOR.com domain. And so this is really what we can work with. All of these appear to be offline. It could not be offline. It could potentially be online. My tool basically sees if the server responds with even a single byte, and that lets me know, hey, it's alive. But if the server doesn't respond with anything, then that tells me that that it could potentially be offline, or that it's not communicating with me because I didn't meet the requirements and it just didn't respond with anything. So yeah, so here we go. Here's a whole bunch of things I can kind of test out. I'm going to go ahead and open one of these. So account that redirected me to signin.swtor.com. Okay, where they have a buy, so I assume this is related to the store. Redirected me to swtor.com again, but just went to the buy page. And they have the forums. They have a gamepad. This is interesting. So your server is running. So this is somewhere that I don't expect. They expect people to access this website right here. It looks like it's being ran by Oracle. So there's a lot of things that you can kind of play around with when it comes to subdomains. There's a lot of cool areas that you can kind of test and see what stuff it has. They have launch, it redirected me again. Launchpad, again, you know, Glassfish server. So you're like, what the heck is a Glassfish server? Well, this is what we can use. We can use Google. So the Oracle Glassfish server is the world's first implementation of the Java platform. So they're using Java Enterprise Edition. So it's a server, a Java server that we could potentially find vulnerabilities on. That's interesting. And they got patch notes, which again redirect us to SWTOR.com. But we do know that there could potentially be an executable located on this subdomain. They got sign in, again redirects you, and then the actual target that we're dealing with. So kind of gives you a good area to kind of play around with and see what we can mess with. But because this is a MMORPG game, I know that they have a launcher. A launcher helps distribute all the files that you're going to need in order to play the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically download the launcher. So normally they have like here a download page. Sometimes you have to actually register an account in order to download it. Hopefully we don't have to do that here. Oh, great, we didn't. It just went ahead and downloaded it. Every time you download a file from a website, you want to go to your downloads, and then you're going to want to copy link address, and then you want to paste it into your browser. You can kind of see how it works. So just like from our research that we collected from doing a reconnaissance of the website, we saw that patchnotes.swtor.com and then the Star Wars setup executable is still the same. So it's good that we were able to get all that information without even targeting the website. But this confirms that that file is still there because it's trying to redirect us here. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the executable, and we're going to go ahead and install this game. A lot of times when you download a game or install it, the installer itself will actually download from a website. In this case, I don't think it did. I think it just installed the files that were already inside the executable. But now it's going to try to actually run the launcher. Now the launcher itself is pretty interesting. So here is where it's actually going to start downloading all the games. Now what we're going to do is we're going to close this launcher and we're going to open something called Fiddler. Fiddler is a tool. It's a great tool to use. There's another one called Wireshark and another one called Burp. And these three tools are great for different purposes. I like Fiddler because it's kind of like you jump right in there and it's already easy to work with. It doesn't have all the cool features that maybe Burp has. Burp is more of a professional tool, but Fiddler is great for anyone to download and just start using. And right off the bat, we can start seeing some traffic that's going on. So this allows you to block, edit, all kinds of things, create rules. So like whenever a website's visited, it will actually look inside the data of the response packet, and then you can react to all that stuff using C#. So it's a really cool tool to play around with. But right now we're going to use it to kind of monitor how the launcher works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the launcher for Star Wars. Let's see if I can find it on my PC. Open file location. Alright, here's the launcher. So another interesting thing about when you get a launcher like this is you can look at all the files that they have listed here, and that can give you some good information about how it works. So they have a launcher.launcher metafile JSON. We open that up. It looks like it could be base64, but we're going to go ahead and copy all of that. Use the Fiddler tool by Control E, and we're going to paste it right there in the top box, and then we're going to go from base64, and it gives you some text information that we can kind of look at on how it works. So we're going to go ahead and create a new tab, paste it right here, and take a look. Okay, so JWT, okay, so it's dealing with some kind of token. They have more information here. X5C, okay. Yeah, and what I'm right now is I'm looking for any information on where it may download files. Looks like it's just a bunch of settings, which makes sense. So that was the launcher meta file, and then the launcher Star Wars meta file. Let's just take a look at that. Again, another base64 format. We're going to convert that into text, and then we're going to paste it right here and take a look at that. Okay, yeah, let's copy this and convert this. Yeah, it's not the right format. Interesting. Okay, so anyways, yeah, you can open these files. You can take a look inside. You can see what it may contain. It may have some really interesting information about how it downloads things. Sometimes you'll find something like installer settings. You can actually find some interesting stuff. It'll be like, is developer, and it would say no, and then you could just change it to yes. And the next time you run this, it'll actually have settings to access developer endpoints, and it'll just download the developer files. So you get something really stupid like that. But right now, what we're going to do is we're simply just going to see what we can find while we run launcher.exe and see how it communicates. So off the back, you could see that as soon as I ran that launcher, it tried to communicate with these web servers. And we can kind of see what it's accessing. So if we go to inspectors, raw, we can decode it. So it went to this domain, subdomain cdn-d6patch.swtor.com, and then went to SWTOR launcher alias.json. So if we actually go to this website ourselves, here we are. So this is what it's accessing. This is what the launcher, the executable, access to get this information. And then it looks like a base64 encoded string. So we're going to go ahead and try to convert that string, and we're going to get all this information. So let's go back to our notepad. We're going to paste that right there. It looks like it has some information. What is that? Launcher test. I love every time you see something that says test, because that kind of test prod, test release tracker 01. That's really interesting. Launcher. Okay. Launcher. Where did we see that? We saw that inside the game folder. Launcher meta file. Launcher Star Wars meta file. And if we go back, launcher star, okay. Ooh. So they got some stuff in here. They're exposing some stuff in here that they probably shouldn't be exposing. We may come back to this. Looks interesting. Let's go back to Fiddler and see what we're looking at. So So yeah, okay, that was inside the alias.json. And then they have a catalog.json. But what is this? So you want to take a look on the URLs it's accessing. So we're going to open this one up. That looks interesting. That's a string that it looks like something that I saw in the alias response. Uh-oh, what do we got here? What do we see? You see this string right here? Looks awfully familiar with this string, doesn't it? Launcher to launcher. It almost is identical. You know what we're gonna do is paste this right here, and then we're gonna grab this string up here inside the URL. It's identical. Wait a minute. So this signifies, what if we copied this and then we paste it here? And then we press enter. And look at that, we got a response. That's for launcher test 001. Okay. This is information we shouldn't have access to. We're going to go ahead and copy that, see what's inside it by converting the base64 format into a string that we can understand. And then let's take a look. Okay. Config remote base URL delta format flags gzip. So they're using gzip. Okay. Target digest ID. We have an ID. Metafile. Oh, here's a link. Metafile. Ooh, we got a metafile. What does that do? I don't know what that does. Let's take a look. So oh, okay, we have more information. So we're following clues right now, right? I don't know how it's all being used exactly, but we're following the clues it's giving us. Now we're going to convert that information that we just extracted, copy that, and then we're going to go here, paste it here. What are we looking at? These look like file names. I think we found how it downloads files for the launcher of, let's see, of launcher.test001. So this is how it finds the file names to download, I think. These are locale files. Is there like an exe in here? Ah, there's an exe. Launcher.exe. Ah! And what is the files in launcher.exe? So what I have here must be the normal launcher, and what I'm currently looking at is the launcher for whatever launcher.test001 is of this ID. Okay, so now we potentially found a way to access the test files that we shouldn't have. And then they have another one called test prod. And then over here they have test release tracker. And then test release tracker 01. So we have multiple locations that could potentially hold sensitive files that we shouldn't have had access to. Really interesting. So we're starting to piece together how the launcher works, how it extracts information to download the files it needs to download to stay up to date. But by doing so, it released information that it shouldn't have released, right? Which is all those test files that we're looking at. So now we have a kind of an idea on how it accesses stuff. So, oh, here's another one, metafile.json and then catalog.json. So I assume you go to the catalog to then get the metafile, and with the metafile, it looks pretty big, so that looks like it contains all the file names that it needs to update the launcher. So we're just dealing with the launcher right now. We're not dealing with the game files. We're dealing with how the launcher updates itself. That makes sense, right? Because we started the launcher, and these are the first links it went to. All it's doing is saying, hey, am I up to date? Do I need to download any files? And by downloading all this information, what it does is it extracts the information to download the live version of the game, but it also, for whatever reason, included how to download the test version of the game, at least the launcher, right? So if I were to download those test files for the game, then it may expose more information, right? This is what I'm talking about. You got to start from the beginning, you see how it works, and then you see if it exposes anything that may lead to other things. And that's how you kind of map it out, how you gain information. And then it goes to whatever this is, which could have some information exposed in there. But yeah, I don't think we need that. Okay. Another thing to look at is look at the domain that we're actually accessing here. It's cdn-d6patch.swtor.com. I don't recall seeing that subdomain inside the public information we extracted earlier here in subdomain. So let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, I don't see D6 anywhere in here. So this is, again, you can use public information, but let's see what's going on here. Okay. Yeah, so I don't see where it's here. So even though you can extract all this public information about a website, it doesn't mean you're going to get all the juicy information. You're just going to get an idea on where some things may be as a starting point. But then you got to do the actual manual work. All I did was just kind of give myself a starting point to play with, and now I can mess with all these websites. So that's great. So now we have another domain that we can kind of mess with. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to that subdomain. So obviously this is the information we got from this path. What we're going to do actually is we're going to go to the root of the subdomain and see what happens. Oh, these guys. They've exposed their bucket. Oh no. Oh geez, live QA test. Okay. Oh, that's not good. Okay. So, all right. So this is what happens. Sometimes when you find subdomains related to the target. So for instance, SWTOR.com. When you find subdomains such as this one, this is why I like to visit all the subdomains that I can find related to a game or any website out there, is because sometimes they fuck up. And what I mean by fucking up is they expose things that should never be exposed. This right here should say access denied, right? Because you need a key to be able to access this information. But they've publicly exposed it. They didn't configure their website correctly, and now it tells me every single file that they have on their website. Oh, this is so bad. Okay, so this is the bucket name that is being exposed. And it looks like from this, they're using S3 Amazon AWS. So they're using Amazon AWS to distribute their files. So their files are not hosted per se on their own website. They're using a Amazon AWS to be able to distribute their files. Um, and it looks like it gets routed through the subdomain. So what we're gonna do is paste in their bucket and then do .s3.awsamazon.com. And I typed that in correctly. Is it? Oh, it's Amazon AWS, my bad. So AmazonAWS.com. Access denied. That's what you should have seen. I see what's going on here. Yeah. So normally this is what you would see. Access denied. Okay? Because we don't have the keys to access this. Right? In order to access this, you'd have to modify the header request when you went to this page, and then it would show you all the files, right? Because your header would contain the key needed to access the information. But because we're using their subdomain, some idiot at their company, their website has the keys to access the AWS stuff. And they've incorporated it into their own subdomain so that it's like their website can access this because it has the keys. We don't. That's why we see this. But their website has the keys, and that's how it's able to display all this information. They just forgot to protect this part, and because they fucked up, we now can see everything. Oh man, I wonder if they have. Let me see if they allow the marker. Because if they allow the marker, then we can basically extract every single file that's on this. So we're going to do marker equals. No, okay. So it's not completely set up like that. At least marker type. Fuck. Mark. Maybe they have their own. Maybe hashtag next. Damn. Okay, it seems like the way they have this set up is you can't actually use this like a traditional AWS URL. Like for here, I would be able to do like marker equals, and it would display it correctly if I had the keys. Where it would, right now, it's only max keys is 1,000. So right now, this URL only displays 1,000 from top to bottom. That's unfortunate. You know what? Let's see if we can expand this. Maybe this will work. Max keys equals 2,000. No, I don't think so. Okay. So, I mean, this is already pretty bad because we exposed 1,000 links to files. And in one of these files may contain, like, let's go ahead and copy this whole thing and go here and paste it. So here's all the links. Now let's see if they have a .zip. No. Maybe .7z. Nope. .txt. XML. Nope. Shit. I got a lot of JSONs, I know that. Yeah. Oh, see, look at all this stuff. See, these are, okay. Live QA test assets, DEDE catalog. So here's like the special generated numbers that you couldn't, like, the way they have this situated is that they have these keys right here, right? And they generate it per, I guess, branch of the game. So this is live QA test for DE. Was that German? I think it's like the German version, but it kind of gives you an idea um, of how their files are formatted. But now we know that live QA test is one of them. So that's, oh boy. And from here we can kind of like, for instance, if I do copy this, um, so we go up here, it's launcher, Star Wars launcher alias.json is what this is. So if we were to, oops, change this, live QA assets. Oh, assets could be game files. Maybe. Let's copy that, convert it, copy that. Um, 1 second. Okay, fine, whatever. Assets, live QA test, and it gives us like one of those links that are those IDs that we wanted. So then I think from here we would need to do replace that. No such key exist. Oh, because it doesn't match the full thing. Um, like the live QA thing. So we need the correct oh, launcher. I wonder. Meta file. So maybe if we modify this and then nah, maybe I'm messing up here. All right, let's go back. What are we messing up? Okay, so oh, there's a history. Oh, that's interesting. Assets, live QA. That's so interesting. So maybe do that. DE, maybe EN for English. Maybe just one EN. Maybe just no. ENUS. Oh wait, there's this one over here that we also have to edit. Huh. Live QA assets DE. EN. EN. US. US. Oh, I got it. I guessed it. So even though we can only see like 1,000 keys, and I guess they're all like the DE, which I think is German version of the game. I think I figured out their ENUS. So this is like the English version of the live QA version. And then so basically we copy that. Okay, and then paste it here, copy this, because we want to see what's inside that base64. Okay, cool. And then we have an ID. This ID right here is going to expose their assets. Now we just got to figure out how their assets look. So, where the hell would their assets be? Uh, Where did I keep it? Okay, so we got to figure out how. So we have the. Okay, I need to get rid of all this stuff because I keep creating more and more. Okay, so this is the ID of the assets for the live QA, but now we got to figure out how we actually use this ID. Um, so we can see here, this is how you get the catalog. So maybe if I paste this, and then I get this live QA asset. They don't have a launcher. Okay, so maybe we don't know how to structure this for the launcher of the live QA. Or maybe it's just listed different. Okay, so we really got to figure out how to use this ID. So I think what we need to do is see how it downloads the normal files for the live version of the game. And that may tell us a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and play for free. Okay. Let's go ahead and create an account real fast, so bear with me. So, um, okay. We are in the United States. And just make up some random information. Oh, okay, so I've created an account. Now I should be able to sign in. Alright, let's see how this thing works. Okay. Yep. I accept, of course. Now it's downloading. Oh, it's downloading. Okay, so now we see how it's actually downloading everything. Um, let's go to the very beginning. Okay, so then, oh, we have a retail catalog. Okay. Retail client. Ah, alias. Oh, interesting. It actually used the Amazon. Forbidden. Just curious. Maybe I doubt it would work. Yeah, access denied. I didn't think so. Of course. Okay, so this is how it gets the catalog retail client alias. Launcher, meta file. All right, well, we know live QA test is what it uses. So maybe if I do live QA test, did that work? Oh, it did. Oh, I did. Oh, I just guessed it. Okay. So instead of doing retail client, we did live QA test because we gathered that information um, yeah, from the exposed bucket. And then now we're going to convert this from base 64. We're going to expose this. Okay, so what do we got here? Retail client live QA test. It gives me this. Okay, what does this do? Another ID to play with. Oh, and this is where you get the catalog. Okay, so if we were to put maybe that, would it work? Did it work? I think it worked. I don't know if it changed any. Retail client. Yeah, let's see here. So I do that. Is there any difference? No, I don't see any difference. Okay, so maybe that doesn't really give us much. So live QA test. Maybe if I copy this and put it there. Why is it taking so long? Okay, not found. Retail client dot live QA test, and then no. Meta file. Retail meta file. Solid piece. Okay. So this meta file, we need an ID that we can play with here. So maybe live QA test. And it changes a little bit. Oh, so this, what changes? Like the bottom part changes. Oh, the offsets. Oh. Oh, wait a minute. Let's just see if we can plugins JSON format. Shit, can't do that. If I and then plugins JSON format. Oh, there we go. Okay, and then we basically copy this. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to compare the live QA test meta file with the live retail client version. So I'm going to copy that, put it right there, get rid of that, get rid of this, and then do JSON format. All right, so you know, a really good way to compare the difference between text is to use a website. I like to use anyways. It would be this. Oh no, I'm sorry. Diff checker. So we're gonna put this here, and then get this one, and then put that there, and then compare. See, what are we looking at that's so different? Description. Oh, but they're the same. That's a description. So that's like the version of the live QA test, but they're basically the same game. Okay, well anyways, I could keep going. Um, Eventually I would be able to figure out how to download the files for this. I think, yeah, I would be able to figure out how to actually download. See, retail client, that's the thing, is retail client alias. Let me just take a quick look at something. The one that's exposed to here. So they have assets. Oh, wait. Yeah. History. Assets. Live QA. So if I just do this, changes to en underscore us, en underscore us, gives me this. And then if I go here, oh geez, and then I paste it, and then it converts into this, and then this gives me an ID. And then with this ID, I should be able to access something like this, meta file. But I don't know how to access that meta file because I need to know what all this stuff here is, like live QA test. Is it live test QA? Oh, what the hell is it? Live QA test. Live QA test. Retail client. Maybe like QA client? Ah, man. This is annoying. Let me just see what's in here. Catalog. Assets. Catalog. Mm-hmm. Ah, okay, I got something. And then copy that. Ah, yeah. Now I exposed the link I need. Oh, this might be it. This might be. Uh oh, it's loading. Oh my God, that was a huge. Oh, look at all this information. Okay. And then I copy all this, and then I convert it, and then I copy this, and I paste it. Okay, wait, we're gonna have to format this. So let's go way down here to the bottom. This may be all the files for the live QA version of the game. Plugins, JSON, viewer format, JSON. Go way up here. And here we are. Yeah. That's how you get the file. um, TOR files for whatever this ID is. Okay, so I basically exposed how to download the live QA version of the game. So these are files you shouldn't have access to. Now, once you actually figure out how to download these files, then you can look inside those files and see if it contains more clues as to other areas that you should be able to download. Eventually, you might be able to download a debug build of the game, which is pretty close to having the source of the game. Because if you have the debug version of the game, it'll contain, most of the time, it'll contain symbol files or symbols for the game itself. And then you can reverse engineer that to basically have a mimic version of the source code. And then once you have that, it tells you how the game operates. And someone who is skilled in programming would be able to use that to then write advanced hacks for the game, because most of the time the games are packed and they're in a format that is not easy to understand. But basically, what we're trying to do is get the debug version of the game, and if we keep following these clues, we might be able to uncover like a branch of the game such as live QA test, which could contain the symbol files that we need, or other things. And inside these special builds or branches of the game may contain because they never expected anyone to download it, right? So they could be lazy and they could leave oh, here's my username and password to the admin site, or here's a token that I use to access the game at all times, or access the developer areas of the game, or the portals or the websites, domains, etc. So yeah, I mean, this is essentially how someone goes about hacking one of these games. And you get these special files, you get access to these areas, or you get the ultimate key that lets you log in to the admin panel, and now you owned that entire game. Now you basically can go in there, and they may even have areas where it's only developers can access, which allows you to modify, let's say you were able to get the username and password, or an API key to, their Git bucket, or whatever. And you're actually able to access their website, which handles banning players or changing anything about the player from a website, as long as you have admin authorization. And from there, if you could get admin authorization, which is very possible if I keep exploring this, it could take me days. This obviously is taking a long time to make this video, but it gives a demonstration of how far someone can go. I mean, this is just day one of attacking this website, and I already have access to live QA stuff and an exposed bucket, etc., etc. Imagine how far I can keep going every time I look into another clue as far as how this game operates, how it downloads files, and where its information is. So this is how I go about it. This is exactly the type of pen test I would do for any other game out there. There's a lot of other cool tactics. If you guys have anything else that you want to kind of share, I'm all ears. I love learning new ways to do things. Star Wars, you gotta up your security, man. Sorry, man, but you guys are weak right now. You're lacking security. You're exposing things you don't need to expose. Even without that bucket, you expose some information about the test launchers, which contain information on potentially all these files and everything else I'm looking at. So yeah, this is essentially this is the first demonstration, first tutorial. I'm gonna be releasing different tactics and methods I use for different games. But hope you guys enjoy.